this? Okay, it says we're live.
Oh.
I don't know if we're live. So let me check.
Oh my god.
Um, mm-mm. Where are you? Oh, are we here? Yeah, okay. So I see people in the comments. I think we are live. Okay, cool. I'm like, is it working? Because I don't see anything on my screen.
Yeah. Oh wow. Load up.
Okay, I'm assuming. Let me just double check because I see people commenting, but I'm like,
Yeah,
where is everyone? Okay,
We're live.
cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the December/January live show for the Crusty Book Club. Before we get into our co-hosts and everything, I'm just going to talk about our next couple of picks and give you a little bit of a briefer because we have been on like a little bit of a break because of the winter holidays. So in February, which is this month, we are reading Girl, Woman, Other, which is a story that follows different Black people in the UK. And I'm really excited about this one. So this is the February pick. And then for March, we are reading a romance book called Spoiler Alert. And this is there is a lot of cosplaying, there's fan fiction in this. And I'm really excited because apparently our love interest is like the most adorable person ever. And after Get a Life, Chloe Brown, I'm ready for more adorable romances. I'm like so ready. But yeah, those are our next two picks. And then I also will be announcing our picks until June pretty soon. So make sure you're following the Instagram. All the links for everything will be down below. And now that I have said that, I'm going to go ahead and let the co-hosts introduce themselves. Anybody can go.
I guess I'll go first. On the top right. Hi, I run a YouTube and a blog under peachnace. I also I co-host a book club as well called Vintage Books and Wine with Matthew, Tiana, and Blake. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I run the channel Zoe's All Booked, and if you see me looking off to the side or doing some stupid shit, it's my cat. He's being a little bitch. I mean, I'm sorry. He's being a little stupid.
I knew this would happen, and it's so funny.
Sorry. I'm weak, okay? I cannot control myself. It's fine. It's fine. Move on.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie from Katie's Book Nook. Shell and I have been friends for a super long time, so I'm finally excited we get to do a live show together.
I know it's been a minute.
I know.
How have we never done one?
I know.
All right, cool. So everyone's introduced themselves. Make sure you guys follow them in the description. I put all of their YouTube channels, so check them out, watch their videos because they are all amazing people. Okay, now that we have talked about that, I see a lot of comments. Everyone saying hey, hello everyone, welcome. All right, we're gonna go into, first of all, non-spoiler discussions. We're just gonna talk about our general thoughts and what we rated the book. So everyone in the comments, go ahead and let us know what you rated the book and what your general thoughts were. And I'm gonna let Ace talk about what her general thoughts are first and give us her rating.
Okay, well, I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 just because I really enjoyed the plot and like everything. I thought Chloe's writing was really good, although I did have some slight issue about the pacing at some point. Just I was slightly losing interest, but about halfway I kind of got back into it. It was really intense. Like by 60%, like a lot of intense stuff was just happening. But I enjoyed it.
Cool. I mean, that's good. Zoe, do you want to go next?
My cat's name is Draco, by the way. He's a bad word that I can't say because
he's a bad word.
I don't know what I'm rating it yet because I finished it 20 minutes ago and I need to look at it for a minute. I did like it a lot, though. I did have some issues with the pacing too. And there were like tiny little spots where there were weird tense shifts, and I got like pulled out of the story. But overall, I did enjoy it. I am a sucker for retellings, especially Shakespeare retellings. Romeo and Juliet is one of my least favorite plays for reasons, but I love the retellings more than anything. So I'm really torn because there were really things that like I didn't like, but overall I liked it. And maybe 4 stars. I don't know. Come back to me after at the end of this, and maybe I'll have made a decision. But I'm so will that happen?
So I don't think anyone would be surprised that I rated it 5 stars. Because
I'm not surprised at all.
I really enjoyed it. I thought, especially for a debut, I thought the writing was really strong. There was a lot of moments of beautiful prose. I just really enjoyed the atmosphere too. I think the whole premise of 1920 Shanghai was just such a cool place to be, and I felt like the book kind of taught me more about a time and a place that I didn't really know too much about before. So I always kind of enjoy that when I can learn through fiction. And it was just fun. It was a good time. It went places that I didn't expect it to go. Like, it got a little gory at times, and I wasn't expecting it. So I have no. I mean, like I have like some criticisms, but mostly overall I loved it. So I gave it 5 stars.
I was like, I know that this immediately the time when I was like, Katie's reading this, I knew it was going to be like a 4.5 to 5 stars.
I even if there are things that bother me, if I love it enough, I'm just going to give it 5 stars because that's just who I am as a person.
Valid.
Yeah.
That's totally valid.
I gave the book, well, it's between a 3 and a 3.5 stars for me because what I loved most about this book was Chloe's writing style. And I thought that like her writing style is fantastic. And I really liked the way the story felt like unique and it felt like such an important story. But where I did not feel connected was with the characters, with the pacing, and then I had a couple of issues with the story and the fantasy element where I was continuously forgetting that it was a fantasy story because I was so immersed in the historical and the political element. And that might be because I don't read many fantasy stories with such elements in them. So it's kind of like I feel so confused. So it was really hard for me to stay engaged in the story. And I think this is a really important thing that Tiana just said because that was what gave me, like, I was so interested in that aspect of the story that I constantly was like, what is this monster you speak of? I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know who this is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I'm going to be at a 3 star for right now, but we'll see. At the end of this live show, we'll see. But yeah. All right. I'm seeing a lot of 4s and 5s. So that's super good. I feel like everybody pretty much enjoyed it. Which I was like, oh, I don't know if people, because I saw so many people in the Discord being like, oh, I kind of want to, like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I saw so many people being like, I don't know if I like this book. And so I was like, oh no. So it's good to see some excitement. Oh, okay. This is interesting. Since we're still in the non-spoilery part, we can answer this. What side do you guys think you would be on?
There was an Instagram story one time that Chloe posted and like you picked, and I think I was Scarlet Gang, so that's my answer.
Oh, okay. What about you guys?
I don't know. They're all kind of garbage.
If you were just gonna become a gangster in 1920 Shanghai,
I'd start my own gang.
You're like, absolutely not. Not a single one of those two.
I'd be one of those people.
Yeah, see, I feel like I would say Scarlet, but can I survive? I don't know.
Got stabbed. Gotta go.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I think I'd be one of those people that's just like a normal person trying to survive that just happens to live in the one side, and it's like, all right, I'll pay you so you don't kill me and my family, or like,
right?
But like,
I'm like,
really, do we have to affiliate? Because that's like a step too far, saying I will kill someone for you. Because I can't be bothered to get up to do that. So I don't
that is true. So a question I have for you guys and for everyone in the comments too is, when you read books, right, do you feel like you are more of a plot focused reader, or do you feel like you're more of a character focused reader? Everyone's thinking. So let's let the comments. Oh, okay.
I feel that. I forgot that there was a sequel.
Same.
Like at least 10 times.
Same.
I think it's just supposed to be a duology, right?
Yeah.
Is it a duology?
I think so.
Duologies can be tricky with the pacing because it's not like trilogies kind of have that beginning, middle, end. And then duologies are only 2. So sometimes I feel like it's a different kind of storytelling where you almost have like 2 different plots. It kind of isn't as overarching as trilogies.
Yeah,
I
think like my answer to this question about like plot versus character is in line with this problem, because I feel like I'm a very character focused reader, and so when I was reading this, I was like, I'm just here for the plot, and it feels weird because I kind of don't care about, not that I don't care, but like I you could be a white flower or a scarlet gang and I wouldn't care. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? So it was so hard to be like there.
I get it. Well, same. I actually am like more of a character driven reader, just because like I feel like there's no point in the plot if you don't care about the characters.
Exactly.
Yeah, so but luckily enough, like the side characters in these Violent Delights I really enjoyed compared to like, I honestly enjoyed like the other characters reading from their perspective more than like reading from Juliet and Roma's perspective, surprisingly.
Okay, this is one of the questions I had too. Okay, I'll ask this question after Zoe and Katie go about like the character and plot thing.
I'm definitely more of a plot, but the characters help it. But it's like, if the characters aren't enough, like the plot is enough for me, it's just like an added bonus when the characters are great too. Which is why I think like I didn't rate this lower, because I did like the side characters better and their perspectives. And if I was a more character driven reader, I think it would have bothered me more, but the plot was good enough. But there were aspects too, like the plot kind of, not that it forgot itself a few times, but the whole, I did forget that it was supposed to have fantasy elements too. So like, I don't know, plot usually, but both are better than none. Does that not make sense? It's true.
It makes sense.
I think for me, like the way I think about it is think of a book that's like completely plot driven and a book that's completely character driven. And when I tend to read books that are like character emotions only and don't have too much of a plot, I can't really be engaged that much. So I would say I probably lean more towards plot. But like Zoe was saying, like the characters are important. If the characters suck, you're not gonna like connect with the story. I like Juliet though. I thought she was a badass. She just went around like stabbing people that got in her way, and I don't know. I thought it was cool. So, but like again, I am more of a plot focused reader, so the plot was entertaining and kept me engaged. So probably why I enjoyed it more than you guys, who are just more so focused on, I guess, like the characters' inner journey. Whereas I feel like this is more about what was going on around them.
Yeah, because I kind of am on the same boat as Ace, because I felt like the plot was good, but I felt like because the story was supposed to be focusing on Roma and Juliet, and they're like, we're going into spoilers now, for everybody who's still here for spoiler free, but just warning you. But because the story was so focused on Roma and Juliet, because it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, right? So I felt like I was supposed to be very invested in the two of them and like their affiliations and what was going on with them. And like, oh my gosh, I hope nobody gets killed. But I literally was like, I just want to protect Kathleen, and that's it. Like, I honestly don't care about anybody else. Like, I was like, anything could happen to Roma and I wouldn't care. Like, Marshall, I would cry. But Roma, like, okay. Like, oh my God, the scene where Marshall, I was like, I literally was like, this could have been Roma. Like, I was like, this should have been Roma. And I feel bad saying that because it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but like I didn't care about them that much.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I didn't really care about Roma either, but Juliet is pretty badass, I will say.
I liked her a lot, especially I'll get into this later because that's one of my questions, but I just really, really liked her a lot. I think I liked Juliet and Kathleen and Marshall the best.
Yes.
Roma, honestly, I forgot about him.
He did fall kind of flat quite a few times. And it was just like he was there as like a foil for Juliet. And it's like he wasn't as important as I would have liked him to be.
But, I almost felt like their relationship kind of took a backseat to the plot. Like going into Romeo and Juliet retelling, obviously it could kind of be whatever it wants to be, but this one seemed like it took the it took the main idea of Romeo and Juliet and formed this plot around it, and then their relationship is kind of what sparked the plot forward, not the plot stemming from their relationship. So I'm hoping in the second book we kind of get like their romance really amped up, because I do want to see more of that, as opposed to like this book was more so just about like discovering the monster and what's going on, and kind of like they were forced to work together that way, but I didn't feel like the super sparks between them.
Yeah. I was going to also ask you guys too about that spark element and about the romance aspect of the story, because did anybody else, like, you know, the scene where they're like was it like a bar or something, and then they go into a room and they're just like making out? Did anybody else not even feel like
I forgot that happened?
The reason why it was just so vivid was because the entire time I was like, are we not supposed to be happy for them that they're like together? But I just felt like it felt weird, because the entire, again, like I know this is like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so they're supposed to be in love, but I was like, can y'all just not be friends? Because I don't feel, it didn't feel organic. Like it felt like it came out of nowhere.
She had so much resentment against him that you didn't really feel the love that was still there. Like I maybe would have wished it to be like a little bit more pining, like I should hate him, but I don't. But instead it was like, he sucks.
Yeah. I was craving to just how the whole could that be, but that is why. That's romance.
I just didn't. I feel like maybe if the romance came in the second book, then I would have felt like it made more sense. But it just felt like, I don't know. Ace, you look like you want to say something.
Oh, I play y'all talk.
Oh no, that's all I wanted to say, because I was just like, this doesn't feel like the right spot for this.
Oh, it's because like I don't know if you guys read it. I'm assuming you haven't, but she released like these special shorts and like about Roma and Juliet's past, and I feel like that kind of helped. Like if you read that first, but and then go into these violent delights, because it gives you more like of their history and how they were as a couple when they were like 15.
I kind of almost wish that we got more context for how they first came together despite everything. And if there are those extra short stories, I wish that maybe they hadn't been cut from this novel.
Because when I was,
that would have given them more context. No, you go ahead.
No, exactly what you were saying, Katie, because when I was reading this, it felt like, because I know we got a lot of background to their relationship when they were like younger, but all the background that we got felt very like we're friends. Even the part that was like, oh, I'm kind of in love with this, it felt like we're friends. So that's why when they were like, oh, I love you, kind of. I was like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? It literally was like, I literally went through the pages and I was like, where is this? I just didn't, there was not enough. I was like, y'all cannot, maybe it's just me, but I feel like you cannot just suddenly be so thirsty. Like,
It happens. I'm just.
it happens.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, the short stories help a lot.
I was so shocked. Like, I did not see that scene coming at all. So I was like, I am so unprepared for this.
It just
Absolutely
felt
not.
like the scene was like, you know what? This seems like a good time for them
Yeah.
to get frisky. Let's just drop it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But honestly, to me, it felt like their whole relationship happened as more than friends just because it was a Romeo and Juliet retelling. And like,
Mhm.
that's the whole story of Romeo and Juliet, is them, like, their relationship. And it felt almost disingenuous. And I'm like, can you just make me believe that they're actually in love? Like, it was lovers to enemies back to lovers.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be like this, like burning, all-consuming,
Yes.
stupid love. Like they're supposed to do
Yes.
stupid things because they're young and stupid, and like
Yeah.
that like burning passion
That was
Mhm.
missing.
that was missing. Yeah.
I saw a comment in here that I lost, but I know somebody mentioned how they are kind of glad that Roma that, that Roma and Juliet did not act, I guess, dumb because of their love. But the thing is, I wish that they had. Like, I wish that they were like kind of going against everything people were doing. Like, I kind of wish, like, and I know maybe it's like the context of the world and everything, but I feel like I would have felt more invested if they seemed like they were so in love with each other, because I know they were working together. But again, it just felt like a very platonic, like we've been through the child love and now we're like working together. Like, to be honest, I was like Juliet and Marshall.
Marshall and Benedict, that's it.
Yeah, Marshall and Benedict.
Oh, I didn't see any ships. I don't understand why people. I'm just like, I'm shipping the people that I like.
Those two were cute. Marshall and Benedict were just cute. It's like, why don't you just make out? That was my whole thought every time they had an interaction.
If they don't make out in the second book,
I will buy it. I will buy it.
I'm like, can I just mishmash all the characters I like together into one relationship?
Yes.
Which means everybody's love.
Why the hell? It's like, I was annoyed because, like, one of my like biggest pet peeves is always that the romance in a lot of YA ends up taking over the plot. And like, I was kind of hoping for that because it's Romeo and Juliet. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. Their love makes them so stupid that they just ignore everything else. And like, I'm glad that it wasn't like a step-by-step retelling, because those do get boring. But at the same time, like, I was expecting to go into this finding that all-consuming, like, the hatred that turns back into love, but it just kind of like skipped that. It was they hate each other and then maybe we should smash.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the difficulty with the retelling, is that you have this original body of work that your work is going to stand up against. And so even if it's like, so you could have a book that's like loosely based on something, right? But because of the way it's going to be marketed, you're going to have these readers with certain expectations. And especially something like Romeo and Juliet, most people either read in school or just have like a vague understanding of like what it's about because it's so referenced in popular culture. So I get that, you know, Chloe was just trying to go off of the general idea of Romeo and Juliet and set them up in this era and just make it very different. But I think that, you know, people expect this Romeo and Juliet type of burning passion, and she made those characters different from the original very naive Romeo and Juliet. And it's almost kind of like we're at like past where the play is, if that makes sense, because they already had their big love story and it exploded. So it's almost like we're picking up the pieces after that. And even though they didn't like die, I guess like maybe the metaphorical death of their relationship was that Roma came and like exploded their house. So it's definitely not a direct retelling. So yeah, it's just kind of hard because you always hold those standards in your head if you're thinking about something else, but then you're like, well, is that actually what the author wanted to do, or was it just more pulling loose details?
If I'm being honest, I have not really read Shakespeare works. The only thing I know about Romeo and Juliet is that they died. So I thought that Roma and Juliet were gonna I'm like, are they gonna die? So when I was reading this, I didn't really have anything to like compare it to, except like Romeo and Juliet are probably, they died. So like, are they gonna die? So I was like, ooh, like every time I was like, is this it? And then I remembered there was a second book, and I was like, yeah, there's no way that would happen because the second book. But people are like talking about Marshall and Benedict, and I feel like I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
Like it literally said at one point they're either gonna kill each other or kiss each other. It literally said that.
I mean, I saw that, but I didn't like. I was like, "Oh, that's cute," and then I kept it pushing.
That would like see a gay couple and be like, "Oh my god, they're such good friends."
Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not.
Two soldiers that were buried together.
No, it's just, I would like to defend myself and say that it's because when I started reading this book, I was just prepared for no romance. Like, I don't know. I know, again, Romeo and Juliet, but I was just very prepared for, like, we're going to get to the business. Like, we're going to get to the killing. We're going to get to the, like, gang war. That's what I came into the book. So I thought, like, all romantic elements would be in the next book because I feel like, I don't know if this is how Chloe advertised the book, but from everybody that I was hearing gang, rivalry, fighting, guns, like knives. So I was over here thinking we were going to have some brawls left and right, you know? So when I went into the book, I was like, okay. But I think that I agree with what you said, Katie, about how Chloe took the story and made it very different. Because I think she did, like, her writing is just amazing. And that's really what just kept me holding on the entire time.
Like, in school. Like,
exactly.
She's like not even an adult. I'm pretty sure I heard from someone or like some sort of tidbit that she apparently like lied to the publisher about her age in order to get them to like accept her manuscript.
I love that.
Oh my
God. Amazing.
I feel like her writing is just so good. I felt like I was there. Like I literally felt like I was
really
there.
good at descriptions and creating atmosphere, which is especially why I love that this was a very unique setting. And you can tell a lot of historical research really went into making that part of the plot shine. Like, again, kind of like back to our character versus plot discussion, this definitely seems to be a little bit more of a plot driven book.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very, very plot driven. And I think that's another thing too that I would probably tell people was that this is very plot driven and it's very focused on the historical elements, which I thought were so good because it's funny because so the reason why I had asked about the diviners is because both of them are set in the 1920s. But one is set in Shanghai and the other one is set in New York City.
Yeah.
And the discussions, and the diviners is like one of my favorite books. And so the discussions of like the difference in discussion between the two books is just like mind blowing.
I love the way that she talked about America and like the land of dreams or whatever, and how she was the one line where it was like, you have to wake up from a dream sometime or something like that. And like when they were talking about like we should just run away, there was like it was like a tiny paragraph about it, and then they said like but why would we go to a country where you have white men in hoods killing black people and all this stuff? And it's like, it took that veneer away from everything that we hear about the 20s in North America, where we're taught that it's this beautiful time and everybody's a flapper and everybody's dancing. It's like, yeah, well, a lot of people are dying.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say. No, go on.
I just love that that discussion was had because it was so different from every other book that I've read, especially YA, set in the 20s. And it's like, thank you for actually saying this.
Chef's kiss. Like the part, this is why, okay, I feel like my rating is going to go up because I'm just going to forget about everything else except what I'm about to say right now. The fact that Chloe, with Juliet's character, this is why Juliet was my favorite character. And I want you guys to think about what your favorite characters were and everyone in the comments too. But the part where Juliet talks about going to America and then coming back home, and then she's no longer seen as the same person. Like everybody just sees her as the American girl, and people are like, your accent is so, because literally not even a week ago someone told me that. They're like, aren't you from Africa? You sound so white. I was like, not so white.
Yeah, pull up Juliet on that.
Literally, when I was reading the book, it was like, the part where Juliet was talking to someone and they were like, your accent is just so not what I thought it would be. I was like, what did you think it would be?
My foot in your ass is not what you're gonna think it's gonna be. All right.
Like I just loved her. You're fine, Zoe. You can continue. Like I just loved her character so much because I have not read a book that discussed something like that so well. Because Juliet's like culture was just so erased by the fact that she had been in America for like 4 years. And the way that is so realistic, I was like, I loved it. Anyway,
there was like that discussion that she had, where Juliet was like, everyone else still had their Chinese name, but no one was mine anymore. And I was like, okay.
When you over here being Chanel.
That comment right there. You're not enough for the one group and you're not enough for the other group. That one hit home.
Yeah.
Dude, when I read that, I put down the book and I was like, this is fantasy. I was like, this is fantasy. I was like, we're not about to do this. Like the part where, the scene where Juliet and Roma go to this, I think it was like an older man or something, and then she like changed her name to where it sounded more, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then Roma was like, oh, that was so smart, blah, 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 blah. And Juliet was like, yeah, that was so smart. I was like, it was a wild time. Oh, I think my rating is definitely going to go up because now I'm like remembering the non-fantasy elements. It's just hitting even harder.
Well, yeah, especially when you've literally been told your whole life, like straight up, you're not actually this, you're this. And then the other person says, no, you're not actually this, you're this. It's like,
yeah. It's like you can't win either way.
Yeah. It's like, why is it not enough that I'm just me? Like, why can't I be both? Because I am both. And it's like, the fact that it was just talked about so, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Frankly. And it's like, it didn't beat around the bush. It didn't just, like use flowery language to like placate one group of people. It's like, no, this is just exactly what it is. That was like, okay, I might need to stop reading for a minute just so I can sit with this, because this is a lot for me. It's not something that we've seen, especially in YA. And I'm really happy that it's becoming a conversation that people have more. And it's like, you don't have to be just of like one ethnicity or one cultural group. Like,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Zoe. Continue what you were saying. You just sent me. Okay, Zoe, say what you were gonna say because I just had.
I don't remember anymore. I'm so stupid.
No, this is such a good point. Since while you're collecting your thoughts, I would just say this is such a good point because I literally was thinking about all the books and all the ways that people talk about the 20s It's always the 20s in America. It's always the roaring 20s. It's always the Great Gatsby. It's always people were out here partying and being broke. Literally, like there's so many, and it just makes me wonder now how many stories in the 20s from different regions are we gonna see? Because I want them all.
Yes.
Like, I want them all.
I saw somebody on Twitter said something about writing a lesbian Gatsby retelling, and I don't think it was right.
It's
Nevo, I think, The Chosen and
The Chosen and the Beautiful.
I don't remember because my memory.
I'm not sure if it's I just know it's queer. I'm not sure if the main characters are sapphic.
No, I think it is. Oh yeah, I don't know if it's sapphic, but I know that it's 20s. It's the Great Gatsby, and then it's queer.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through and just stopping and being like, "Oh shit, okay, I'll remember this." And then 5 minutes later, I forgot. Because
now you remember. I'll remind you.
Beautiful.
Because I'm just ready for that book.
I wanted to bring up something kind of like along this line of the way this colonialism was discussed in this book, because kind of like the monsters and the insects that were invading, I think like insects can be invasive species and you get these swarms or whatever, were kind of like a metaphor for white colonialism, where you had like the French and the British encroaching on Shanghai, and like the bugs were brought in from is that the British guy? Whoever brought them in. I
was like, this sounds familiar.
You're bringing disease with you, okay? That's never happened before. Oh my goodness. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was a really clever metaphor for kind of like that time period. Like it brought up the whole rising tensions of that time period with communism, kind of like as a movement to counteract all of the imperialism that was going on, but kind of having this monster on the loose like, brought forward the issues a little bit more, because again, it's just like this big metaphor.
Yeah, that was like the entire time I was reading that, I was like, is this what I think it is? Because it sounds like what I think it and that's why the whole time I was like, this would be so like, I want Chloe to write a true like purely historical fiction novel. Like I feel like I wouldn't be able to get up after reading it. Like I'd be like, I gotta sit here for a couple of weeks.
The gore and like the horror aspect of it was actually pretty chilling. Like if she were to ever like tackle like a full on like gore horror novel, I think she would be able to write it very well.
I want her to write a historical thriller.
That would be so good.
I think she's writing another historical fantasy, but it's not YA and it's adult.
Yes.
Tell me more.
I'm ready.
And I think she's doing Cleopatra.
Oh shit!
Oh,
I might.
Whoa!
That's
like, wait a minute! Ooh.
Oh.
Wait a minute. I turned down a little bit. I don't know. Is that weird? It's weird.
That's amazing. I wanted to highlight this person's comment right here, because I did see a few. I don't know if this is the same person from the Discord that was talking about the Russian characters. And I thought that was interesting because I was recently reading a book that is set in West Africa. And when I was listening to the audiobook, I was like, the whole time I was like, this person is not from West Africa. I just know it. These pronunciations, the way things are being said, it's hitting different, not in a good way. So I Googled it. It was a whole white man. I was like, yep. I know. I felt it in my bones. So I just wonder sometimes when you're like, when you're reading a story and somebody who's not from the same background will be like, oh, this was so good. This was so authentic. Chef's kiss. And then you're like,
the representation was amazing.
Yes.
For whom?
Like, the representation was amazing. So it made me wonder. So that's why I wanted to highlight this comment, because I thought that was really interesting. Because I did see a couple of people be like, okay, but the Russian aspect. And I feel like most of us would not be able to create a concrete discussion around that. So
like they did seem bland, and we didn't get a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that's because Chloe understood that she wouldn't be the best person
Yeah.
to represent the culture.
I
That's
feel like
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
she wrote like that time period, so it was really hard for her probably to like kind of gauge like how much of a
To
culture
say.
like impact the Russians made on Shanghai. And since like she's Chinese herself, it was like probably a lot easier for her to focus more on Juliet and her traditions and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wonder. Or that's why I feel like Roma's character was the way it was, because she probably couldn't go as deep into it as she could with Juliet. You know, because there were certain instances where she talked about similar pronunciations, and she mentioned some things here and there about the relationship between China and Russia. But I noticed that there were a lot of things she didn't say, and I feel like it's because of that. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that's a reasonable, reason.
Like it was more surface stuff or things that you could easily Google.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of little cultural things you could Google all you want, but you would never understand just from Google.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mistake a lot of writers make, is thinking that Google is enough or just talking to one person is enough.
Yep.
So while they did seem kind of bland and not really fleshed out, I'm kind of happy that she didn't just jump into it and be like, I can write this. Because like that's where we have
feel like
problems here.
Exactly. I feel like it's so much better for me personally. I don't know about how other readers feel. I would just prefer authors mind the business.
Yeah.
Like, if you know how to write a certain thing because that's what you're from, it's fine. You can have side characters, you can have this, you can have that. But don't be like, my name is Stephanie, I'm a white lady, and I'm about to write about some dreadlocks. Like,
that's what happened the other day.
Yes.
Where it was like, what were they calling it? Literary blackface, where she didn't have her picture most places.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the author was like pretending to be black, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing?
Yeah.
And then
I was just throwing shade.
That was a thing that happened a couple days ago. There was, I think I saw the confusion about whether the actual characters in the book were black, because the characters on the cover were.
Oh.
And because I saw a statement from her saying, well, I got the cover and I didn't feel like it was appropriate to ask the artist to change their skin tone. So I don't know if she ended up changing the skin tones in the book or what, but it was a whole thing. It was just a whole mess.
That's wild.
That just sounds like a mess, yeah.
Happy Black History Month.
Wow. Like, I don't know. I personally don't get mad. I'm like, if you know how to write yourself, do that well. And then try your best with the rest. But don't be like, I'm a genius. I know how to write every single ethnicity out there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get made fun of, go for it.
But if you want to get dragged, I'm looking at Miss American Dirt. Okay.
Oh my God. Too soon to talk about that.
I will never get over that. Yeah. Even like just, I think culture too, because like also where you grow up, where you're raised, like there's certain things that you would be able to understand and see and witness that somebody else might not. So I just think it's a very nuanced thing. But I would definitely prefer authors from specific groups. Like Chloe just did such a great job. Like she knew what her limit was. She knew what to and what not to talk about. And I really, like, I know that I was like, this book is kind of okay, whatever. But I'm more about the author than the book with this case. I usually don't care about authors. But with this, I just want to see Chloe succeed and like continue to write and publish more.
Yeah.
Because I just think she has so much potential. Like, she just has so much potential.
If this is her debut and like the writing was so good and just like every debut has its issues, obviously. They always will. It's always going to be a thing. And every book authors get better. So it's like, if this is your jumping off point
and you're still in college,
10 years, I'm ready to be ruined for the next however long.
Like,
yeah.
I feel like, and this is another thing too, maybe it's because Chloe is like a Gen Z author, then I'm like, hey girl, what's up? But I feel like the feeling that I feel from this is the kind of feeling I felt when I read A Song of Rates and Ruin, where I'm reading a debut novel and I'm just so shook.
It doesn't feel like
I can't right? Like I just can't imagine what, like, especially plot wise, because the plot in this is very strong. So I just can't imagine what more plot wise and writing style and skill, like how much better she could do, because this was already so, like, if I picked this up, like if I was just scrolling through Barnes and Noble and I didn't know what BookTube was and I picked this book up, I definitely would be like, oh, I can't wait to read this author's other books that she's probably published for like 12 years in the past.
I mean, if your life was a piece and you anyways. But like,
yeah,
I'm excited for the next one, because the time difference, even just from one book to the next in series, like if you look at any series, there's always like the chance of the sophomore slump, and the second book doesn't really hit as hard as the first one for various reasons. But a lot of the times the author's writing just gets stronger, and I'm excited for the next one to see where she takes this, but also how much better her writing gets.
Yeah.
Because you think that they plateau and they've hit the ceiling. They can't get any better. But then they do. And it's like,
someone just in the comments pointed this out, that like they can't wait to see what she can do when she's out of school and can fully hone in on her talent.
Yes.
She wrote this in college. Like, do you know what I was doing in college when I was not in class? Probably just like lying in my bed, like crying.
In college, I think I read like 2 books in the entire 4 years of undergrad.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting. I was like, oh, not another 10 pages.
She wrote a whole YA novel in her free time. And once she's out of school, I'm assuming she has these book deals, she'll probably be like a full-time author. Like,
it's just wild. And oh my gosh, this is another thing too. I want this to be adapted so badly.
Yeah.
Like, to get adapted.
You're not?
I kind of don't want it. I don't want people touching this.
You're like, it has to stay perfect.
I want it adapted if and only if they can guarantee that it will not be a white man doing the adaptation, because that's a recipe for disaster.
And then it has to. I want to see a cast of Asian actresses, a cast of like I want to see people who represent what Chloe put into that book. This is the same way I felt about A Song of Rates and Ruin, where I was like, I want to see dark-skinned Black people here. Like, I want to see the people that this author wrote in her book. I don't want it to be this. Like, I want to see what Chloe put her hard-earned work. Like, if it does get adapted, like, I want to see what she did in her book. I want to see it on the screen, but I don't want to see it being like Timothy. I love Timothy Chalamet, but I don't want to see him in this film. I don't want to see that other dude from To All the Boys.
I don't like
the actors. Oh my god.
People always drag my Timothy love, but it's okay.
Tucking your hair behind your ear. No. And it's up.
It's not even there.
Come on.
That is a personal choice. Like, we all know I'm into white men. I married one, but like I like it when they look alive.
Someone
and
said Timothy checkerboard.
Timmy does look a little bit like he's about to fall away.
Like, how's that movie? The Corpse Bride? Is that it?
Yes. Oh my god.
He does. Like he also looks like he looks like the guy from It, like the actor from It.
He does. I thought I was like, did he grow up that quick?
I thought they were like siblings.
A BITCH. So it's
no,
not.
It's cursed. Get it away.
It's all I can see now. I hate it.
That would be so horrible. That would be so absolutely horrible. I think I would literally throw my screen away because I'm so tired of seeing him.
Chloe doesn't deserve that.
No one
She
deserves it.
doesn't.
Come on, be
Not-
nauseous. That's not gonna do it. Like
I just, oh my god. What are your predictions for book 2? And also, what do you guys think about the cover? Let's talk
love
about
it.
the cover.
I like
it, but at the same time, I don't.
I don't know what that
Same.
thing is in the middle of the cover.
It's a lighter. It's a
lighter.
1920s
I
style
thought so.
lighter.
But it took me a
I
long
know.
time to get that.
And in the
Yeah,
book,
I didn't-
Juliet had a lighter on her,
Get it
so
right away.
I think
Yeah.
it's that lighter.
So she's gonna set shit on fire.
Probably.
I
Literally.
feel like maroon is a very interesting choice because I don't see a lot of book covers in maroon.
Yeah. I wish it had been like a deeper red, like, and I wish the cover doesn't feel not cohesive. It feels like, you know how with the first book, maybe it's because it's black, but
Mhm.
yeah, like the first book, because it's black, it feels like when you look in there,
Yeah,
there's so many more details.
Yeah, like this
Yeah,
color
I
of red.
Yeah.
to match. Mhm.
It feels like it doesn't like fill up the cover for some
Yeah,
reason.
it doesn't, right? Like I was like, because when I look at this, because I have the Alcrate edition and like it's green, right? But when you look into it, there's still so much that you feel like,
Oh,
oh
it's
my gosh, I
green?
didn't see that. Yeah, it's green.
Green.
It's like a
me
dark
see.
green color.
It literally just looks black on my screen.
Hold on. I got you. Do you see it?
Okay, yeah, no, I do.
I see it now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a green color. So I know they can't do green for book 2, but
Need to make it a really darker, like
yeah, like an almost purplish maroonish color that's like super dark. So that way I can literally be like, I'm noticing more.
like I don't know. It just takes up so much. Like this doesn't feel like it stands out. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping it looks better in person, because you know how sometimes covers don't look good. Like nothing can be worse than Mr. Impossible or whatever it was that Maggie Stiefvater like released.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You don't know like the Call Down the Hawk book 2?
No,
The cover that everybody was miserable about.
I did not see that.
Oh
I
my
vaguely
god.
remember that. Let me Google this.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Google intermission, people. I think it's Mr. Impossible.
That's the title of the second book in the Call Down the Hawk.
Yes, it makes. Yeah, here it is. Look,
That cover.
Mr.
Oh,
Oh
Mr.
no,
Nothing.
that looks like,
No matter
that
what you
looks-
do, it will never be this bad.
it looks like one of those like grocery store mystery novels.
yeah.
Right.
It does.
I think it's
Like
giving me Kroger. It's giving me Vaughn's.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I might like it better than A Court of Silver Flames, which I still have nightmares about.
Okay, that cover is ugly too.
Why did they have to change it?
It looks rusty.
God awful.
Like it looks like there's something growing on it.
I don't care because I'm not reading that series.
God awful.
I think I am having hope that the cover will look better in person. So I'm just gonna have hope about that. But what
you want to know what scares me? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go on.
Is that like when I'm on Book Talk and I see these like people that are just getting the books now and they just buy A Court of Thorns and Roses with the new covers? I'm like, what is happening? Gen Z will never know.
They're taking over. Literally, it's so bad. Like I'm only on book 3 of the Raven cycle, and I still don't want to get to that book because it's so hideous.
I've owned Call Down a Hawk for a while. I'm not even a big fan of that cover either.
I hate it. I hate that.
It's very ugly. It's very ugly.
Who?
I just don't know who. It looks like somebody went into Paint and was like, "I think this looks good."
And the Raven cycle covers, the original ones, not bad. Not as bad as Call Down the Hawk.
No, they're not that bad.
Blue Lily Blue is the best one.
Yeah, I agree. But what do you guys think is going to happen in the second book, though? Like
I was reading the
our Violet
summary
One.
and it seems like there's a new monster. So we're gonna have another monster.
Wait, because that's what it. The very last thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it
Where
was like. Hold up.
I don't know
The
how
entire live show just turns into covers roasting.
How did multiple people look at this and think this is a good idea?
It's like,
Drugs.
yeah,
They're all on drugs.
we're gonna put this out. This is gonna sell.
I love how Ace is like, I can't relate because I pick good books with good covers. She's just like so quiet.
I really
have faith.
I feel like I'm really picky with covers. I like this though. Look at this.
Oh, that cover's so
Beautiful.
pretty.
Beautiful. Expert.
pretty.
A third cover for Serpent and Dove.
I love that cover too.
So
I love that one.
Oh my gosh. No, literally, I'm so petty about covers. If a book has an ugly cover, even if it's like my favorite book, I will look at it so miserably for the longest time. I'll be like, I don't think I want to buy this.
It's like a series I am for other.
Literally, I'm like, Okay, so let me see if so one of the questions that we had, I guess we don't really have any predictions about the second book, and I feel like besides a new monster, I don't really have any. I mean, maybe Juliet and Roma will develop more in their romance, and maybe it'll be more believable.
I need to know who the traitor was.
Yeah,
yeah.
What do you think it is? Because I think it's Rosalind.
I think it's Rosalind too.
Mm-hmm.
She's a shady bitch.
I did not like her. I did not like her at all.
She was getting very in her head about things and not listening to people, being like, no, we love you. And it's like, I get it. I've been there.
However,
she what?
I think. What are you saying, Ace?
Oh, I was just saying she's probably having FOMO because she's being left out.
Yeah.
She honestly, okay, at the beginning of the book, I felt kind of bad for her because I was like, they're leaving her out. But then when she started talking about how Juliet was spoiled and how Juliet doesn't like appreciate, I was like, not you doing this to my queen. Absolutely not. You gotta go.
She wasn't even willing to like do stuff for Juliet compared to Kathleen. Like she was like ready to like stab anyone for Juliet.
What singed it for me was when she called Kathleen Celia, knowing that it could get her killed.
Wait, I just remembered that.
Yeah. That's like,
it's definitely her.
You're
it's
trying
definitely her.
And like,
oh no, it's definitely her.
The only reason for her to do that was maliciousness. She did that for a reason. It was calculated. She was like, I'm going to remind you that I have things over you that can seriously get you harmed.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And I think Rosalind is just bitter because she's been relayed to being the dancer in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she's like, I'm not good for anything else, like in this gang, blah, 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 blah. So she definitely has a lot of resentment.
Mm-hmm. What if one of them disappears and becomes the monster? Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, same. Yeah. If Kathleen dies, I don't think I'll survive.
No.
Like,
actually dies, I'm out. I'm out.
Like,
and for that reason, I'm out.
Like, if Kathleen or Marshall, anything happens to them, is over for me. I gotta go.
Well, like, Marshall already like died, so like
I would have been very shocked if he survived, because he was like the Mercutio character, and Mercutio dies right away. So but I was expecting something to happen to him, and I wasn't expecting the way it happened. But then, like the twist with it, I was like, okay, but is he gonna die for real?
I hope not.
So.
Are you guys for real?
But
like
I don't
he dies in the play. I think my friend did mention this.
A lot of people die in the play, including Romeo and Juliet.
True. So maybe that's hope.
No one's safe.
Yeah.
Man, that's painful. I guess in closing, let's discuss what our favorite scenes or scenes you hated or loved in the book.
I hated the weird little tense shifts where it's like it went into present tense for a little bit for like a few paragraphs and then it would switch back. Like the one where and they don't say the names, where it was like Rosalind as she saw the monster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like it showed like a different character's perspective.
Yeah, but you didn't know which character until after, and like the tense shifted, and it just felt really freaking weird. And Wasn't a fan. I was not a fan. But I did. I liked not like a specific scene, but I liked when she pulled like actual Shakespeare quotes and put them in there. And there was a play on "Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day," where Marshall was like, "Shall I compare thee to a winter's night?" And then was like going on about the one boy that he saw. And I was like, that's my favorite sonnet. So I really
the way I'm so shook that you even have that in your brain. I'm like, who is
Shall I
this
compare these
person?
to a Summer's Day? I feel like that's a pretty
I know,
famous.
Katie, I know absolutely nothing about Shakespeare except
It's
Romeo and Juliet.
love sonnet. But like there was a parody written, "Shall I Compare Thee to a Winter's Night," that was like, it was not a love sonnet. It was dark. But I started reading Shakespeare in grade 4 for fun, so I got a lot of.
Whoa,
isn't that
fun?
Macbeth? I swear there was a line like that in Macbeth.
Maybe. I mean, like, Shakespeare could have recycled his own lines, I'm sure.
Because, like, I'm just thinking about how Chloe said our violent ends will have some other Shakespeare, like...
Really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Asian Book live show, and now I'm, like, trying to look... I want to look back and see if she tried, like, putting in any lines from the other Shakespeare plays.
Yeah, because I wasn't looking for those, but I was expecting to see, like... I was hoping to see some of the Shakespeare lines, and then right at the end where Marshall, like right before Juliet killed him, he said the whole "a plague on both your houses" line, and then I was expecting after that line the whole "if you look for me in the morning you'll find me a grave man," like that final joke that Mercutio makes, and it's like it wasn't there, and it hurt my soul.
Well, I definitely did not remember that one. Everyone remembers the like Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo.
But everybody misunderstands what that means.
Yeah,
I definitely do.
Romeo, why are you a Montague? Like, it sucks. Anyways, I have a lot of thoughts about Romeo and Juliet.
I
answer like, what's going on?
Like, oh my god, it's probably been like 10 years since I read it because I'm old.
Not Katie acting like she's like 80.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
My God.
I feel like my favorite scene in this was the scene where, in the beginning, it's like close to the beginning, where Roma comes into the Scarlet Gang territory, and then he says something to her, and he pronounces it off on purpose, and she's like, why is he mispronouncing it on purpose? And I just thought that was really interesting because
it's a power play.
Yes, like I thought that was such a subtle way to show that he knows. It's like it's early on in the book. Yeah, like right at the beginning. And he like says it wrong on purpose, and she's like, this is interesting. What are you trying to do over here? She was like, what's the tea? And I just thought that was like a really nice way. Like Chloe just has a very subtle skill when it comes to like, I can't find where he said it, but she has like a very subtle skill when it comes to like showing things. Like she doesn't have to tell you that, like you can just feel it in the air. Like you can feel like this is an odd thing happening. So yeah.
Oh, that
I'm like,
the one thing I really liked was that non-English words weren't italicized. Because every other book, if it's a non-English word, it's in italics, and it throws off the whole flow of the sentence. And it's like it's switched between so many different languages, and none of them were italicized unless it was like trying to emphasize something. And I saw somebody had put a video on Twitter recently, and it's like, you need to stop doing this because we don't speak like that. When we're switching back and forth between our two languages, we don't talk like this and then like this and then go back to this.
Hey guys, hola, ¿cómo estás? Hey guys.
Yeah,
like,
that's not how you talk. So why is it like that to emphasize its foreignness to you? And it was just really cool to see that. I was a big
Yeah,
fan.
I feel like I notice it the most when I'm reading books that have like Spanish elements in them because I'll be like, why are they switching? Literally nobody says that. So
Yeah.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
It was cool. It was interesting to see that.
I'm trying
Ace,
so
did you
hard.
find it?
No, but I looked through all my tabs because I was trying to find this one part that I really liked, which was when we went to go see this lady, I think, and then she kind of used her necklace to choke her out.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh my God, I love
That was
that.
so
I
badass.
know what you're talking about. Oh my god. The way I thought you were gonna say something deep and like life changing.
Now it's on page 17.
Oh,
Right
it's
at
on
the
page
bottom.
17.
It was the way he
It was
said
like-
her last name.
Yeah. And she was like, we pronounce things the same way. Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a foreigner. The last paragraph on page 17.
Oh yeah, I see it. But yeah,
I felt like it was so funny. The way he would be like, I'm a detective. And everybody's like, we know it's you. Like, we know it's you. Like he thought he was so slick. Oh my god. All right. Are there any final thoughts you guys want to share? Anybody in the comments? Any last minute things? If anybody wants to plug, huh?
I was gonna just say, thinking about it now, I think it's really good there wasn't much romance because I really like the historical aspect.
Exactly. That's why the romance just threw me off so much. That's why when I was reading this, I was like, nobody's a couple, nobody's dating, everything's platonic, everything's just friends. We're here for the tea and the history.
And the
We're
stabbing.
here for the historical tea and the stabbing. So
I think it would have been less of like an expectation if their names had been changed a little bit and it wasn't like straight up Juliet. Like Roma was a little bit different, but like having their names drew that association so much more.
Yeah.
Like if those had changed a little bit.
I think I heard somewhere that this wasn't originally gonna be a like Romeo and Juliet retelling, and that she just wrote two rival gangs and a couple getting together, even though they have this whole like dilemma because their gangs are rivals. And then she kind of realized like, oh, this is technically Romeo and Juliet. So then she called.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then so she just said it was a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but really she just took some elements from Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I think I can understand why she would do that, especially as a marketing strategy, because if you're like, oh, two rival gangs, why would you not then just be like Romeo and Juliet? Because as soon as people see that, they're gonna be like, oh, yep, period. You know what I mean?
As a debut author, I think
it's smart.
I would be clinging to everything I could. Literally.
I think the problem is though that like for me, I saw it marketed as like an actual retelling and not just a loose retelling. Because I think if more people are talking about how it's supposed to be just a loose retelling, you're going into it with less expectations and it's like little elements. But I went into it thinking there was going to be a lot more of the original story just twisted into like this one. And it wasn't that. So I think if I had gone in not thinking that it was going to be that much, it would have went over better in my brain. And my brain is working halfway through that sentence. So just
that makes sense. I think Chloe, like, and her team, especially with Miss Rona, I think they did the best that they could. Like, I think as a debut author, as a woman of color, as somebody writing from a non-Western perspective, I think it could not have gone more perfectly. Like, she is constantly making TikToks about this book.
I know.
Like, Chloe has done her work.
All about these violent delights, and I think it really helped her sales.
And the thing is, I feel like any Gen Z author, like any author from now moving forward, like Chloe is honestly the blueprint. Like, you need to be on TikTok, you need to be posting TikToks, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. I think she's doing everything.
There's like that whole group of the Gen Z authors, and I'm like, I feel so protective of you as like the middle millennial age. I just feel like the word mom. I'm like, I'm pushing 30 now, but I want to just protect all of you and make you all feel just like safe.
Yeah. I just want all of them to succeed. And I think that they're doing so well with what they have. And
Yes.
like with the space that's like not really there, you know, like they're
making
really
the space.
carving. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't think this could have gone any better. I think she did what she could, and the book is great. Even if you're somebody that's like iffy.
This at BookCon, if like BookCon was happening last year or this year, like the stampede for this book,
People would be literally stepping all over. I don't think I would have made it out.
somebody would have died. Like honestly,
Probably.
it
I'm
was
so sad BookCon isn't happening.
I know. I think it will happen in future. And honestly, I know that they were talking about canceling BookCon forever. And I do think that even if they do cancel it, things are still going to happen because a lot of like booktubers who created BookCon like go, I feel like, to that area at that time anyways.
Something will replace it, but I'm sure for business reasons
Exactly.
they needed to like.
Yeah.
actually the article that came out was really misleading because the statement from the BookCon Twitter, like that's right on there, says that it will be back in 2022 if possible.
Oh.
It's a little different. So
Okay.
I think what they're saying is it's going to be a lot more virtual stuff, which would be amazing because not everybody, like the majority of people can't make it to New York for several. So if they end up doing that, that would like still have their in-person stuff, but make it more accessible.
Like panels that you could watch. Like think of who did it? BookCon in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
So they didn't feel left out. Like they could probably try and capitalize that on just broadcast the things that are broadcastable, but obviously if you want the full experience, you can still go in person.
Yeah.
I think that would be best too.
There was just the DV Con last weekend. And they had like everything was streamed live on YouTube. There's a Discord. So like they did a whole conference, like a big one online. Last I saw there was like 800 members in the Discord, and it was like the first one that they did. So I think BookCon has the resources. They definitely do. And I think
I just want to meet up with people.
I know. I think the thing is people who want to meet up, I think people who want to meet up will still meet up and they'll still go to New York, they'll still go to wherever. But I do think, especially because when this makes me so petty. The year that I joined BookCon was literally the year right before, like the 2019, was it 2019 Summer BookCon? Like that was the only one that has existed since I've been in this community. And I'm so bitter about it because I almost was like, oh, I should go, but it was so expensive. But like, and also at that time, I think the only person I knew was like Katie. So,
I would have hung out with you.
Yeah, but I mean, still, but I think that like in future, the panels being online will be great and people can host little like meetups and things. I think that would be better and cheaper because then you're going there to meet your friends and you're still going to get the experience by watching things online. Like you could literally hang out with all your friends at a hotel room and watch it.
You could either get the like virtual experience or you could go because people are still going to want to go to like get the books and like and get the free stuff because I don't know about you, but I love the free stuff. Do I ever like use it once I'm home? No, but I love just the thrill of going around and like picking up like free bookmark, free pen. I don't need it.
And there's publisher parties too, and like
you
get invited to like mini publisher events. But Kurt and I were talking like for 2020 when it was still like in January, and it was like, will we be able to go with the newborn? And then COVID started and everything. But like even before then, we were like, are we gonna actually buy the tickets or are we just gonna go hang out by the wall? And then
not by the wall.
Right, like you could just walk it. You could go in without a ticket, go hang out at the wall because you
can go into Davids without
into the show floor, but like in that lobby area, like anyone could be there.
Because the 2019 one, I found out I was pregnant the Thursday night, and I was like, no way in hell am I going into this stampede, finding out I'm pregnant, and I was nauseous and craving pickles and angry, and I'm like, I am not spending time in here waiting in lines for hours to get a book that I might read soon. So I'm like, if I can do that, like that. Why don't I just do that and not pay for all the tickets unless I do get invited to a publisher thing? And then you hang out in New York, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It really
I'm excited to see what happens in the future, because I think even just in like the year and a half I've been here, like I feel like things have diversified so much more, and I'm like so excited to see like different people and like just have a really fun event. Hopefully, I'm not gonna get too excited because 2022 is a little close to be planning. It's a little close. It's like 10 and a half months. I don't know about what the world is going to look like.
I'm actually hoping to go to ALA midwinter, January 2022.
Oh my gosh.
It's right near where my friends live. Yeah. It's in San Antonio. Are you close to San Antonio?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so I'm going to come in and hang out with you if I go to San Antonio.
Right.
Because like I haven't been able to go to any of the book events, and I was gonna go last year because BookCon was gonna land near my birthday, so I was like,
that would have been perfect.
I know, and it got canceled, and now I just have not.
I completely feel you. Like, I mean, I witnessed it in 2019, like online, and I was like, in the arms of an angel. I was like watching people have the life you want, because literally I joined BookTube like in May, and then it was like time. I was like, I know 2 people. I'm not spending like $700 taking myself from California all the way to New York and paying for all these things when I'm going to see 2 people.
Going into it, I had talked to a few people, but like I had never met anyone in person except like a few people that went to BookNet Fest, the one in Florida, which is amazing, by the way. That one, if you can make it out to that whenever it happens again, is every good, like all the good stuff about hanging out with people at BookCon, but more chill, and it's by a pool a lot of the time.
Oh, by a pool. Okay, I can't swim, but I love that.
And it's
like walking in the pool like this.
Yes. Honestly, yes.
What was I gonna say? I think it like the cons and stuff can definitely be overwhelming too. So like especially for people with like disabilities that can't do crowds and stuff like that, it could be like really cool that people could still attend even if they would have some limitations going in person, like just feel like the anxiety of being in a crowd, because it's a very
it's very busy.
Like, I'm fine most of the time in crowds. Like I don't usually have issues like that, and there were times where I was literally like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
because
I've seen those crowds in people's videos, and it made me panic. I was like, I can't imagine. Like, if there's more than 5 people around me, I gotta go.
It's hard, and you're interacting with a lot of people too, so it can be it's
exhausting.
It's fine, but it's very draining. What I did is I brought my best friend from real life that likes to read, so that way I had someone that was just like with me that I knew, and she didn't know like anyone from BookTube because she doesn't do BookTube, so she was just chilling with me the whole time. So that was kind of nice, because then I didn't feel like I had to like be with the BookTube people all the time.
Yeah,
I was telling everyone, I'm like, I'm going full mom mode. If you need somebody to sit with, I got you. I've got them. Like, but I think that's why like something like BookNet Fest is so much fun, because it's meant for like mostly hanging out. Like there are panels and everything, and there are some arts and stuff, but it's for hanging out. And like 2019, we had the BookTube prom, and it was like a BookNet Fest prom. So it's like everybody dressed up, and then we all just went and drank in the one room and danced.
Now you're making me feel even more angry.
I'm like left out of all these events.
Like it's such a small event.
Like, hello.
Run by Marinés and Sam from Thoughts on Tome. So like it's a booktuber run event. So it's at a resort hotel, 15 minutes I think it was from Disney. So it's like people plan Disney trips, but a lot of it is like hanging out in the villas or by the pool or in the air conditioning. And it was so chill.
Air conditioning.
It was so much fun. And it's like
air conditioning.
It's actually really close to where my parents live, so I know I had considered going down for it, but then something had happened. I don't think I could get off work or something like that. But in the future, I definitely want to do that. I feel like it would be even more chill for me if I could go and then just go back to my parents' house.
Hopefully in the future we will all be able to go, especially like even if it's not 2022, hopefully 2023. Ace, we got to stick around for at least that. We got to stick around for at least that. So we will see. But yeah, I'm getting way too much FOMO. So I'm like,
no, me too.
Like I'm ready to jump through this computer at Zoe and Katie. Like
you can literally come here anytime you want.
Don't tempt me. After this panini, I will be there.
I feel like I'm so far from everyone. I'm all the way.
Where?
I'm all the way in NorCal.
I was there not long ago, so I feel you. I feel you completely. Oh, Zoe's frozen. Am I frozen or is Zoe frozen?
No, just Zoe.
Okay, well, this is a good segue. So, thank you so much to everyone for joining, and Frozen Zoe for joining us. The way she froze is killing me.
Doing the hair suck.
The way she froze is literally sending me. I'm all. But thank you so much everyone for joining this live show. Sorry I kept you guys for so long. But this is a great live.
Oh no.
Well, I think my rating for this. Oh, it's upside down. My rating for this is definitely going to go up a little bit because I just had a really fun time talking about all the different elements that I loved, and it reminded me of how much I love those elements. So, thanks everyone for joining. Oh, her battery. Oh, okay. But thanks everyone for joining, and thank you to my lovely co-hosts for being here. Make sure you guys all check out their YouTubes down below, and their contact stuff will be on their YouTubes. And yeah. Okay, thanks for joining. See you guys in the next month where we will be reading Girl, Women, Other.
I'm so excited.
Bye. Bye. Bye.